You're listening to the Business Mike podcast. Amazing interviews with entrepreneurs and industry thought leaders.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Mike podcast. And joining me today is Oluwatobi. Oluwatobi, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Oluwatobi Kola-Sodipo. I am a customer experience consultant in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise. And I'm the founder of P31 Experience and the CX Community Africa. Do you want me to say more of what I do?
Well, the more you can say is how you got into customer experience, how did you get started, and what's the journey from where you are to, up to where you are now.
Okay, so my background is really tourism and hospitality. So I have 2 degrees in that. So I've pretty much just been in the space of hospitality and tourism. Worked a bit. I worked in hotels, more food and beverage for a while. Then just before I started P31 Experience, I worked at a bank, and I think that was it for me. I just knew I wasn't going to do that. And working in the bank made me work with a lot of customers and opened my eyes to really understand and have a deeper knowledge on how people feel, because the banking industry is like an industry that is very open, and we have every type of person there: rich, poor, old, young, teenagers, anything. Everyone comes to the bank. So at that point, I interacted with a lot of people, and it just and it wasn't in Nigeria at that time. It was in the UK. So I think I was more inspired to start something in Africa and come back home, because I could see that there was that huge gap between customer experience, customer service in Africa and what is going on in the Western world. And so I came back to Nigeria. I started P31 Experience in 2018, February to be precise. And that was the journey. So we started with training and development at that time, just training employees at different levels, managers, sometimes the owners, and most of the time the frontliners. Then from there, we moved into research and mystery shopping, which isn't really popular in Africa. And from that time, 2020 was a blur because of COVID-19. So didn't do much on that, but kind of went back into tourism research. Then I came back again out after COVID. And in 2023, last year, because we started seeing that one of the core issues with customer experience and customer service in Africa is because there's been a lot of imitation to the Western world, lack of resources, and also culture. Not saying that culture is a bad thing or we have a bad culture in Africa, but culture in the sense that we do not provide services according to what our culture is like or according to what our people are like. So 2022, we launched a CX community, and that community does pretty much what we do in P31 Experience, but on a larger scale, and it's more accessible, it's more affordable, and it's so what we do at P31 is more tailored to individual owners, but the community is on a larger scale, so everybody learns together. It's a collaborative online learning platform where we help business owners and CX professionals to provide exceptional services. So really that's been my journey from when I was done with school to this moment.
All right. You mentioned the level of customer experience in Nigeria. Personally, I'm in Uganda, and one of the things that frustrate me is the quality of service in many places, to be honest, whereby you as a customer could easily be let go by the front end staff. They could easily say, well, if you don't like it, you can go. And that seems to be a common attitude here, that they genuinely don't care if you don't like the service they're offering you. So I'm curious as to what your experience is in terms of what your observations are, I should say, in terms of the customer experience in Nigeria generally. What are the bad and what are the good? What are some of the things that people there are doing right?
Yeah, I think I think it's quite similar. I think we have similar issues in Africa when it comes to customer experience. But speaking about Nigeria, I would say that I think we are doing better, and by better I mean awareness, not necessarily what we are delivering, but we still have we still have that human perspective that is still flawed, and I think it will take a lot of education, enlightenment, and desensitization for the people, because I would say that we're at a stage where we are moving faster than where we should be. So now customer experience globally is very sophisticated now. So we have things like AI, artificial language, we have bots, we have machines, and all those things going on around the world with customer experience and customer service. And in as much as those things are good, I don't have a problem with that. I believe in digitalization, but in as much as those things are good, I believe that in growth, you need to go through stages. Like even in the human race, you need to go from crawling to walking. Then from walking, you can do other things. But I feel like we are trying to go from a stage where we have not really worked on the foundational things, and we have moved up to something sophisticated, and obviously it's showing, and it's a reflection of where we are now. So in terms of human perspective and people's ideology about what great customer experience or service should look like, maybe not. Organizations are doing well with technology, things are moving fast, automations everywhere. But when it comes to human interaction or service, not pretty good yet in Nigeria, not pretty good yet. It's still flawed. And this is why people like us are trying to create that awareness. Like no matter what you do, no matter the machine, no matter the artificial intelligence, there's always a human behind it. And how the human things is what is imposed into this digitalization. So I would say doing great in other areas, but the human perspective, there's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah, in Nigeria.
Yeah, that actually brings me along nicely to the CX community that you mentioned earlier. What exactly is that, and how does that help solve some of the problems that you've just mentioned?
Okay, so one of the biggest challenge, and I'm sure any CX professional that would be listening to me, is that it's really tough to convince people to invest in their employees, right? One, two, the structure of the business or the culture of the business really lies in the ideology and in the character and what the owner or the managers or the top people, how they perceive things or how they think. So over time, we have seen that when we try to speak to business owners, when we try to sell, when we try to do this, people are less interested in investing in customer experience because they don't think it's like a direct profit-making business process like sales or advertisement. So we're trying to demystify that. We're trying to explain to people that customer experience is not a business process that stands on its own, like advertisement or sales or marketing. Customer experience is something that should be infused in all the business processes. So in sales, customer experience should be infused in it. Customer experience should be infused in marketing. Customer experience should be infused in advertisements and every other business process you are supposed to go through. So we have created that platform to now allow business to have their employees or themselves connected to a place where every time they can get information like that and know how to infuse customer experience to everything we do. So we have the company plan, a sponsored plan, and we also have an individual plan. And that company plan is that you can get your salesperson, you can get your marketing person, you can get your customer experience representative or customer service manager in the community, and from time to time they are empowered or they are enlightened on what they do every day for your business, how they can infuse customer experience in it. Because all the organizations in the world globally that have succeeded, there's no doubt that one thing they have done is that they have understood the customer and they have considered the customer in every business decision they make. And really, that's what the community is about. So it's not too vigorous. In fact, we are taking time to do a pilot test, and we have really gotten some feedback, and we have seen that we don't need people to like communicate every time. We don't need it to be like a community where everybody is just speaking and talking about something, but we want to have like a resource place where you can get templates. So for example, if you're in customer service section, in your organization, you can get on our library. It's on a drive, and you can get templates on emails, templates on onboarding, templates on training your staff in the morning, templates of setting KPIs, and just different things like that that really makes the difference, and people don't naturally think about when they're making those decisions. They just make it based on, oh, I want to send this email to follow up, and you're not considering anything. You just type out something and email goes, and customer perceives it in a wrong way, and there's issues, and just little things like that that we think about CX professionals. So we're trying to help people realize that in a very affordable and accessible way.
Yeah, right. And from your interaction with the community itself, what is your view in terms of the number of CX professionals we have on the continent, maybe in Nigeria? Was it more than you thought? Was it less? And, what was your interpretation of the quality and number of people out there specializing in customer experience?
Well, it was remarkable, and it was not even just linked to the community. So on the 5th of November, we had a conference called the CX Con Africa, and we had some speakers from all over Africa, who were CX professionals, or not all over Africa, some countries in Africa. And we also had people who joined, and because of that, and usually, so to be honest, I wasn't too surprised, because I've been a part of a lot of communities too that just host CX professionals in Africa, and I've joined conferences online and things like that. So it's quite a number of people. In fact, I know that Cameroon has an institute of Cameroonian CX professional. I know Ghana has that too. I'm not sure about East Africa. I'm not sure whether anything, but I know a few people from East Africa, from Kenya, and just from Kenya actually, that like 3 people that are CX professionals. So there are quite a number of people doing it, and organizations even have internal CX managers and CX directors now, which is something that wasn't happening in like 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And we also have people like myself that are consultants and are doing it independently. So, and I think that gives us hope, because the more we have people like that, the more it's easier to spread the news and show people the importance. Like, okay, even if you don't want to have a consultant, employ a CX professional in your business. Let them make those decisions for you. So I think it's growing. It's an industry like in the past over a decade. Well, let's just say a decade. In a decade now, CX has become like a buzzword. It started from the Western side, but I think it's getting more popular in Africa, and there's been a lot of collaborations too with each other. So it's also that it's a kind of industry too that there's less competition between the professionals, and I don't know why. It's quite interesting, but there's been less competition. So there's been a lot of collaboration and seeing how to, I think because it's very unique. So most of us don't really do the same thing. We do it in a very unique way, because customer experience is an emotional concept. So most times it's very hard for you to do things exactly the way someone else is doing it because it's based on how the customer thinks, right? So maybe that's why there's less competition. But it's been quite impressive over like in the past 5 to 10 years on how customer experience professionals have emerged in Africa.
Yeah, I would second that, and particularly the part of collaboration and support. On LinkedIn, there are a lot of people who are in the CX profession who have reached out and to whom I've reached out, and they're very supportive. They give you materials if you need for free. They support you in any way they can. So it's really a supportive industry, and that actually I found remarkable. The one thing you mentioned that I wanted to touch on was when you say that it's something that has just recently started becoming popular in terms of companies hiring CX professionals or people specializing in customer experience, that's the same thing here. And I don't know what has caused that to happen. Do you think it has something to do with maybe the lockdown, how people now value their existing customers? They know that, acquisition might not be as easy, so we need to focus more on retention. And maybe that's what's helping the industry grow in terms of the need for experts in managing their customers. Or I honestly don't know what triggered it, but for some reason it's something that's being welcomed by several business owners these days.
Yeah, I agree with you. So personally, I think, like you have said, I think it was the pandemic that really brought some level of awareness to organizations. And aside the fact that people are trying to retain customers now rather than customer acquisition, I think customers also became very, I'll use the word again, sophisticated, meaning that during the lockdown, people were more open to use technology. People were more open to know about global brands. So for example, in Nigeria, we have some online stores where you can get clothes, where you can get gadgets and everything. But during the lockdown, people were more open to use things like Amazon and all these other global brands. And people just became more, the more you are inclined to technology, the more sophisticated you become as a customer because you're more exposed to what is happening globally. So I think people now saw that gap, right, in how things were handled globally than what they have been receiving in Africa, or if I can use Nigeria as an example. So, and the business owners saw that too. They saw how people were more interested in. So it's like the competition became a global competition, and it kept business owners more on their feet. It kept the banks more on their feet. It kept the retail stores more on their feet. And so when there's a global competition, you have to shift things and you have to start looking, okay, level, and you find out that your competitor has a chief experience officer. You're going to be looking into getting a chief experience officer too, because you need to now compete on a higher level. Or if your competitor is a local brand like yourself and the highest they have is a customer service manager, then you're going to stick with that because you don't even know that people are hiring chief experience officers, right? So I think the game changed after the lockdown. It really changed for businesses. Customers knew better and they were saying it and they were, calling people out and just different things. And people knew, even because I always say to people, all business owners are customers to another company, right? So they too became more aware and they saw like, okay, if I continue my business, it's not going to work because my customers now are global and things on a different level. And that too happened to employees too. Employees also became more global and more open to what was going on around the world. And that's why there was like the great resignation and just different things happened after the lockdown. And I think those were one of the positive things that happened. People became more aware of, and people came out of their bubble and became more aware of what was going on globally. And that was really good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So as we wind down the interview, I just wanted to find out from you what your best customer experience was. Being a professional, is there anything you remember that stood out for you?
There's so many ones, but okay, I'm trying to think about the most recent. Okay, I think for someone like me, it's very it's very tough for me to be impressed, right? Because my pet peeves and the things that really irritates me is bad service because that's what I do. So I'm not the best judge to say when something is good because for me it has to be exceptional. But I think for me I like people that do things with details and when you go to places and everything is done at, like everything is tailored, right? When it's tailored from understanding you and from knowing your name to having eye contact with you, asking the right questions, knowing when to come, knowing when to step back, knowing when to just ask the right questions. So I think for me, I cannot really pick one, but I know that when I go to places, one thing that is always exceptional for me is when things are done with details. But on a general scale, I think one of the things that is important for me when it comes to customer experience is when you can see the intentionality in what the business is doing, and you can see that it was based on. So it's like going somewhere today and complaining that it's noisy or it was hot or just saying something and going there some days later and seeing that that thing was changed. That's because that's it for me. When a business listens to their customer, it changes everything. Because I mean, that's why you're opened, right? Because of the customer. So why are you not listening? I mean, some customers can say some things that doesn't necessarily make complete sense, and the organization doesn't have to listen to it. But when it's going to help the organization and it's affecting the customers, and you do that, I think that's exceptionality in customer experience.
Yeah, I agree with that point because it's a key differentiator. I can't tell you how many times I've filled out a survey, giving feedback, and you don't get any response, so they don't act on it. So
Okay. Yeah.
if you get a business that reacts, definitely you go back because that's a key differentiator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So second last question is what advice would you give to any business owner that's maybe watching or listening to this? As a customer experience professional, if say they reached out to you and said, I have my business, whatever it is, what can you tell me about customer experience?
Okay, so I'll do three things. First and the most important thing is that put the customer in mind when making major business decisions. And I think I said that earlier. Customer experience, it doesn't stand on its own. It's a concept that is infused into every business process that you'll be applying in your business. So when you're making major decisions, put the customer in mind because it's a waste. And at the end of the day, when decisions are made outside the customer, because those decisions are made for the customer, right? It's like making a decision for someone without consulting the person or talking to the person. So put the customer at the center of everything you do and have them in mind when you're making business decisions. The second thing is that employee experience is equal to customer experience. How the employees or how your employees how you treat your employees is equivalent to how they treat your customers. Treat them badly or treat them without intentionality or don't train them, you will see the fruit in how they treat your business. So how you treat your employees is how they treat your business, and how they treat the customers. The third thing is that tailor your service to the given environment you're in, which goes back to what I'd said earlier on for example, what the community is doing. Because like I said, the community is treating its members based on the environment, the economy and the culture. So whatever given environment you are, do not imitate. You can pick up notes from different parts of the world on what you want to do. There's some great businesses that stood the test of time. You can look at what they have done, but imitation doesn't cut it for customer experience, and it doesn't cut it for businesses. It always shows that you are not authentic. So where you find yourself, understand the environment, understand the people, understand what they like, and it's going to be a smooth sail when you are delivering to them, because you are doing exactly what they want, they enjoy, and how, and you are doing things from their lens. But if you imitate because it looks nice or because somebody is doing it, then the effect at the end of the day doesn't always turn out to be good. Yeah, so those three things.
Okay, well, that's a very, very good key points for anyone to take note of. And lastly, how can anyone who's listening to this, who's watching this, get to connect with you? How can they learn more about what you do? Where can they find you online?
Okay, so I am on LinkedIn as Oluwatobi Kola-Sodipo. So you can connect with me there. Then I'm also on Instagram as Toby_KSHO. That's Toby K-Show. Then you can also follow P31 Experience on all platforms, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Facebook. So you can shoot me a DM on any of those platforms, and I am more than happy to reply and speak with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Oluwatobi, for the time you've taken to share with us your experience and knowledge on customer experience. And we look forward to maybe having you on again and implementing the knowledge you've shared with us. So all the best, Oluwatobi. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.